Hello again, everyone. This is Rock Gabar, as always, seeking the truth. My video topic for today will be about the Feast of Dedication. Now, sometimes referred to as the dedication of the altar, the Feast of Dedication is an 8-day winter festival celebrated by Israelites. Jewish people today celebrate a pagan festival during the same time called Hanukkah, but it's not the same thing. Hanukkah is nothing more than a Jewish spin-off of Christmas. Now, the history of the Feast of Dedication goes back to the time of the Maccabees. The Greek king Antiochus Epiphanes defiled the Holy Temple in Jerusalem by sacrificing swine on the altar and forcing Israelites to abandon their holy worship and adopt pagan traditions. After this, a group of Jews led by Judas Maccabees rose up against the oppressive king. The temple in Jerusalem was then rededicated to the Most High, Ahiah. Ever since then, the Feast of Dedication has been celebrated to commemorate this meaningful event in Hebrew history. John chapter 10, verse 22 mentions the Feast of Dedication by name. It reads, "And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. And Yeshua walked into the temple in Solomon's porch." Now, this verse doesn't exactly explain the significance of the feast day, but it does show that Christ was in the temple on this holy day. In order for us to get the understanding and the history of this holy day, we need to go into the Apocrypha. Now, 1 Maccabees chapters 1 through 4 gives us the story of how Alexander the Grecian became the first great king of Greece after conquering the Medes and the Persians. His kingdom was then split into 4 kingdoms under his 4 generals: Seleucus, who controlled Syria; Miscius, who controlled Asia Minor; Ptolemy, who controlled Egypt; and Cassander, who controlled Greece. This kingdom was the third beast that was mentioned and prophesied in the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 7 verse 6 reads, "After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." Now the leopard in this verse is the Greek Empire, which was led by Alexander. The 4 heads are his 4 generals that took control after Alexander died. How do we know that these beasts are actually kingdoms? Daniel chapter 7 verse 17 reads, "These great beasts, which are 4, are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth." Kings in the Bible is synonymous with kingdom. After the flood of Noah, there have been 4 empires that have controlled the world. First, it was the Babylonian Empire. Second, it was the Medo-Persian Empire. Third, it was the Greek Empire. And now, even still to this day, the 4th empire is the Roman Empire. But right now, we're only going to focus on the 3rd. Daniel chapter 8, verses 8 through 9 reads, "There the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And out of the one that came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land." The little horn in this verse that came out of Greece was Antiochus Epiphanes, and the pleasant land that he moved toward was Jerusalem. Daniel chapter 8 verses 21 through 24 reads, "And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kings shall stand out of the nation, but not in his power. In the later time of their kingdom, when the transgressors come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people." Again, this king of fierce countenance is speaking of Antiochus Epiphanes, and the holy people are the children of Israel. Now Judas Maccabees and the Israelites, led by the power of the Most High, fought back against Antiochus Epiphanes and the Greeks, and reclaimed their temple. In 2 Maccabees chapter 10 verses 1 through 2 reads, Now Maccabees and his company, the Lord guiding them, recovered the temple and the city. But the altars which the heathen had built in the open street and also in the chapels, they pulled down. 2 Maccabees chapter 10 verses 8 through 9. They ordained also by a common statute and decree that every year those days should be kept to the whole nation of the Jews. And this was the end of Antiochus, called Epiphanes. See, the Feast of Dedication is celebrated in remembrance of this victory. 1 Maccabees chapter 4 verses 59 reads, Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month of Chalcea, with mirth and gladness. This is the feast which we as Hebrews should observe in winter, not a pagan Christmas, not a Jewish Hanukkah. We can look at the Feast of Dedication as a sign of the Most High's protection and victory that He gives us, and He gives His faithful people that are willing to bravely continue to worship Him in the face of persecution. Now, as always, the next couple of videos on my playlist go into more detail about this topic. But for now, I hope that this video gave you some insight and good information. I always encourage people to do some more study and research on their own. But if you like the video, please hit like below and subscribe to my page. But for now, again, thank you for watching, and always remember to seek the truth. Shalom.